We'd like to welcome you to our current event and weekly Bible study for August 23rd, 2015. And today I'm just going to try to get as much material covered as I can. I probably have more than I can possibly cover, um, but with the news breaking so quickly and so the volume of it, it's just almost impossible to keep up anymore. Um, Before we get into the study, just some Bible verses to kind of set the tone here. Proverbs 29:16. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall. So that's a really good verse regarding the day and age we're living in particular. The wicked are multiplied, wickedness is being multiplied, and as a result, transgression is increasing. But the righteous shall see their fall. Okay, so this is what the Bible uh, talks about here. And then you have that Bible verse, the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. Uh, Psalm 12, verse 8, I believe. So the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. Well, what do we have in the White House? You know, and worldwide. You can look at Hollywood, you can look at just people being exalted. You know, the Kardashians, Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn, now known as Caitlyn. You know, so many of the people that are exalted are just the vilest creatures on the planet. So when that happens, the wicked are going to walk on every side, as the Bible talks about. Psalm 119, verses 114 through 117 says, Thou art my hiding place and my shield, in reference to the Lord, God. I hope in thy word. Depart from me, ye evildoers, for I will keep the commandments of my God. Uphold me according unto thy word, that I may live, and let me not be ashamed of my hope. Hold me up, and I shall be safe, and I will have respect unto thy statutes continually. Daniel 3:7 through 18. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Okay. Their answer to the king. So our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. Okay, and God is the same today, yesterday, and forever. So He's able to do the same thing for, His remnant as well. And He will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image that thou hast set up. So they're an excellent example of the attitude. Whether you live or die, you don't capitulate to Satan. You don't give in. You never give up. You endure to the end, and you overcome. Period. That's what we're expected as Christians. Not everybody's going to be obviously thrown into the fiery furnace to test their faith, but testing is part of being a Christian, and I really believe a lot of testing is coming. Obviously, by what we're looking at here. Now, I just put this in last night. This broke on Drudge Report. Judgeless ban on Planned Parenthood videos. Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Joanne O'Donnell ruled on Friday afternoon the Center for Medical Progress has First Amendment rights to release videos that covertly took of Stem Cell Express executives talking about buying aborted babies from Planned Parenthood. Almost immediately afterwards, the CMP released a new video that, among other things, shows the Stem Express CEO. Now, remember, they're the middleman between Planned Parenthood and most of the time our government who's buying this material. Certain factions of our government buying the aborted babies or other medical things. But stem cell is that it's like that one layer of separation that they're acting as a go-between, making a ton of money in the process. I mean, I'm sure that once they sell to their end buyer, you've got some kind of astronomical markup on these poor, innocent, dead babies that they're selling, their organs and tissues, and sometimes, as we're going to see here, fully intact babies. The CMP released a new video that, among other things, showed that STEM Express CEO joking about receiving dead babies from Planned Parenthood over lunch. Here's a picture of her joking about it. Kate Dyer, her name's Kate Dyer, CEO of STEM Express LLC. Just a absolute, incarnate evil we're dealing with here. This latest video is only 2 minutes long, and it is more of a trailer of things to come. Most of its content was made up of bits and pieces of previous videos. The one new section featured Kate Dyer, the CEO of some STEM Express, in a lunch meeting with undercover operatives posing as representatives of a biotech firm. It had been better that Kate Dyer had never been born. Even if she died now, she wouldn't be able to escape. Why? Because Jesus Christ said that it were better that, a millstone were hung about your neck and you be cast into the midst of the sea than you offend one of these little ones. And that's all they do all day long, is kill babies before they're ever able to be born. So Dyer is seen laughing about how Stem Cell Express purchases fully intact and aborted babies from Planned Parenthood. As she paid the check, Dyer appears to be laughing about how lab recipients of the aborted babies go into shock when they open a box to find a, quote, intact case, is how they're referred to in her she looks to me, like a bull, lesbian, and this is their way of talking about full whole babies. They call them an intact case. I guess the case is the body that encases the organs that they harvest from the poor innocent dead baby. She says, oh yeah, this is quote, oh yeah, you have intact cases, which we've done a lot. They're admitting it right there. They're selling whole aborted babies for profit. We sometimes ship those back to our lab in its entirety. Telling the lab it's coming, they'll open the box and go, OMG. But it's oh my, Like, I guess they're so excited and happy about this. Now, I just so happened to be in Asheville, North Carolina yesterday with a couple of my listeners and about 235 other people there protesting the Planned Parenthood there in Asheville. And I've heard, just read horror stories about Asheville as far as the Satanist population, the occultists, and the pagans and stuff like that. And then I got to kind of see a little bit of that. Well, no, actually, I got to see quite a bit more of that when I went to that Morality Monday. It was like, I don't know, it was a year ago, with that black robe preacher that was up there preaching and having all the gays and the pro-abortion and the pro-lesbian and the pro-evil crowd cheer him on, quoting Bible, twisting Bible, basically placating them and tickling their ears so that he was telling them what they wanted to hear. Literally, it was probably about 5,000 people when Taylor and I showed up. It was just off a whim. We just so happened to be driving by and we're like, what's this? We've just been praying up against this castle where it's reported they sacrifice people, and we had been we're coming down from the high overlooking Asheville, and I've given that story before, but this was different. We got there. Devil did not want me to go. Had my alarm in this one particular phone I used. Never ever had it malfunctioned, and it didn't go off. Got up, it was in some weird screen, and the alarm had been turned off. I checked it 3 times before I went to bed. 3 times. Just to be on the safe side. No, it was turned off. Some weird, crazy screen. I was like an hour. No, I was. Well, no, I was way over an hour late to probably pick my listener up, Greg, to go there. And but we got there. We got there, a little bit after it started. But man, it was really encouraging. 'Cause that's for me. That's about 83, about 80, 85 miles. I really felt more compelled to go to Asheville because it's the it's the highest place in North Carolina where they do abortions, and I know it has a huge occult population, and I saw it firsthand when I was up there. I really felt more compelled to go there than Charlotte, which would have been closer. And I had some listeners that lived in that area, as well, and so we got there, and I saw my other listener, and man, they had signs, and it was really awesome to just be there. And we had absolutely overwhelming numbers regarding the people that were there to, uh, I don't know, defend Planned Parenthood, I guess you would say. I think half of them, probably half of them, most of them older women, worked there because we saw them walk back over there when some of them were done. And I don't know if they were being paid to be over there. We had at one point, I think the total number, and it might have been more, but we had about 235 people. Now, I was a little bit nervous the week before when I had looked on their Facebook page, it was like 11 said they were going. I'm not on Facebook, so I was just kind of looking. I'm like, there'll be more now. And then a couple days before, it said like 31. I'm like, okay, well, this is getting better. And then I got there, and it was like, whoa, it was like hundreds. It was I guess 235 when it was all said and done. And uh, really encouraging to see that. Now, granted, every church in the area should have been there, that would name the name of Christ, but at least it was a good showing. And yes, I do think these Planned Parenthood videos have gotten a lot of people really stirred up, and a lot of support from people driving by. The one guy had this, I guess, honk for life campaign. We talked to him, and a lot of people were just, just laying on the horn and beeping like crazy as they went by. A ton of people the whole day, or the whole time we were there. We were probably there for, I don't know, 3.5, 4 hours. We were there long after. We were one of the last ones to leave. It had already kind of ended, but there was, I would have to say, I'm thinking maybe at one point like 10 to 15 people that were there, probably at maximum for um, like supporting Planned Parenthood. They had people, and again, it was all older women that were in like the parking lot, and they're wearing their these hot pink Planned Parenthood T-shirts. Now, this is the clinic that when I was there at Morality Monday, Immorality Monday, as my listener Daniel pointed out. I'm like, yeah, that's a better name for it. Um, this was the clinic that had just got shut down. And when I got there, I'm like, this isn't where I remember their Planned Parenthood clinic. Well, that was because the other one got shut down for all kind of gross health violations, and I really believe it was answered to prayer, but they reopened up this clinic. They put like 2 million into it or something, I heard, and reopened it here. And so they had women in the parking lot kind of standing there, and then the cops showed up. I don't know, probably we'd been there for about a half hour, and there was like 3 cop cars that kind of streamed in one part, and then they left in about 15, 20, 30, they left. There was no fights breaking out or anything. Probably how, mm, I was probably one of the more aggressive ones there. Anyway, yeah, I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut in those types of situations because the guy came over. one of the main guys, he says, okay, whatever you do, don't engage or dialogue with any of the people on the road that might pull up to you, and it doesn't matter if they're screaming at you or whatever. Guy yesterday, I guess he got sent to jail there or something, because they had it the day before, where it was more of a honk for life thing, and I guess the guy was talking to and some police saw it, and I don't know if they hauled him off to jail or whatever. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't care if they haul me off to jail, whatever. I just, there's no way I'm keeping my mouth shut. Somebody comes up, and this lady pulls up, and she was a black lady, and she pulls up, and she's screaming at us. You're not gonna be the one. You got all these signs, and you're doing all this stuff. But you're not gonna be the one that's gonna take care of any of these babies. And I just kept saying to her, I said, ma'am, I said, it's premeditated murder. What's going on in there? That's a bottom line. You can use any justification you want to use. What's going on in there is premeditated murder, and there's plenty of people that would adopt these babies. Plenty. There's not enough babies to even... We have right now, we're at like a 1.9% birth rate. I know in the Caucasian race. I'm not 100% sure on all the demographics. You have to have at least a 2.1 birth rate to maintain a populace. A populace will eventually collapse if you don't have a 2.1, meaning a couple produces 2.1 on average children. If you get below 2, your society will eventually collapse. It will not be able to sustain itself because it's not replenishing. You're going to end up having a very elderly population with nobody to take care of them in the long run. And she's over here screaming all this stuff, and so I just, I just let her know. So I didn't get kicked out for that. And then and my listeners were right next to me too, so we were probably some of the most vocal, I'd have to say, out of the 230 something. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying we were kind of, that way. And so then this one lady, one of the many, one of the few supporters of Planned Parenthood, this little Nazi witch. She probably couldn't weigh more than 95 pounds. She's probably in her 50s. And the women that were there were all probably in their 50s to 60s. Every one of them was all white women in their 50s to 60s to 40s, I'd say. And there was one that was she looked like a goth or something. And they had a couple guys there, a couple elderly men. And so this one lady starts walking around with this sign. She's had the sign, but I guess she's just got to get it in everybody's face that Planned Parenthood saves lives. Me and her didn't square off. She didn't get near me. I'm not saying I would, I'm not gonna do anything to anybody. I'm just saying that I would not have put up with her either. I would have probably, because what's going on there's murder. They're murdering babies in there. So I'm rather passionate about the subject. Where else can you go in America and premeditatedly murder anyone, including an unborn child? Where can you commit premeditated murder and it be legal? Of the most innocent sect of our population, Planned Parenthood. So I'm rather passionate. So I saw her walking. She's putting this sign in people's face. I'm like, oh yeah, how does that work? Planned Parenthood saves lives. Yeah. The 60 million aborted babies saves lives. It really makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It was the exact opposite, and I screamed at her in the middle of the intersection. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. And everybody kind of looked at me. But anyway, I she's there basically a banner for Satan, and I'm sure other people said stuff to her too. So we were there, and I mean, for the most part, it was a ton of support. It was really a encouraging, awesome thing to be a part of. I didn't think that many people were going to show up. I didn't know what kind of opposition we were going to have. Uh, there were, I don't know, the whole day I can remember three people, pulling up or driving by basically with, just giving us the middle finger the whole time. Some people like would just like, because we were at an intersection, there was a light, and some people would like tear out of there with their cars, maybe in protest, and but really the vast majority was supporting what we were doing. It seemed, from the people that were honking and stuff like that. And then at the end, my friend, my listener, Greg, who does a lot of stuff like this anyway on the street with signs and stuff like that. He says, I want to go over there, where all the abortion protesters are, and I want to have my signs up with them. So he starts walking over there, and he gets over there, and I see him over there. He's by himself basically, and I said, "Oh man, we got to go over there." I said, "We might get in trouble. We need to go over there." So me and Daniel walked over, and it was literally catty corner. It was the farthest point in the protest from us. So we kind of worked our way over there, and Greg's already in this heated debate with this, I don't know, really three ladies, but one lady in particular, about the whole, abortion issue. And it's the same old rhetoric, except this time she was throwing God into it. I'm a Jewish believer, and I believe God's shown me. He's appeared to me in dreams, and basically, evidently, that this is all good, and that who would take. I grew up in a foster home, and I didn't have food to eat, and these babies need to die because she went hungry when she was little in a foster home, so there's nobody to adopt them, and all of the same lies. And so, in other words, it's all justification for murder. We need to murder them because these babies, there's nobody to take care of. Nobody wants them. They're not a baby. That's another thing. They're not a baby. They're just which is really tougher and tougher with all these Planned Parenthood tapes that have come out. And Greg was there, kind of, engaging her in this, and I just couldn't keep my mouth shut. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, you're telling me. It said, you're going to invoke the Bible. You're going to invoke the Old Testament, because she was saying, I go by the Old Testament. I said, and you're telling me God's telling you that this is all good and this is all right, and they're not. I said, and the Bible verse just smashed into my head. Before I formed thee in the womb, I knew thee and ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. To Jeremiah. I said, the Bible says he knows us before we're formed in the womb. You're saying you go by the Old Testament. That's Old Testament. Oh, and she was getting really super flustered, and you could just tell she didn't want to engage at that point. And I kept quoting scripture, and Greg was there, and Daniel was there, and we were, basically quoting scripture. And then the one, I kind of forget but she was getting super, super flustered. And I forget what she said. And it's kind of hard when you're in the heat of battle. But I'm like, this is premeditated murder, is what we're dealing with here. Bottom line, you can justify it any way you want to justify it. Same old rhetoric, same old stuff. It's premeditated murder. And you're telling me, you're saying your God is justifying this, and he said it's okay. Well, then you're not hearing from God, ma'am. Child sacrifice is absolutely condemned in the Old Testament. And then one of the other ladies came over, and she was like about getting ready to go on a nervous breakdown at that point. And I mean, I wasn't threatening her or anything. I mean, but I am passionate about whatever, about this subject, extremely. And I can't, I don't know. Thing is I by nature am not a confrontational person. I don't like doing that. I like helping people. I like actually being nice to people. I really do. So it's really not in my nature to want to do that. So there's a part of me that feels bad in a way because I'm like, oh man, you know, I don't. But then again, I'm thinking, well, what about all the babies being slaughtered over there, right across the road? What about their voice? You know, and again, I didn't cuss, I didn't say anything inappropriate, and Greg didn't, neither did Dan, nobody, but you could tell they were visibly upset and flustered, and I'm sure thinking in their own mind, reaffirming in their own mind, oh, these terrible pro-lifers, and, well, yeah, because, am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Absolutely. You want to say, if you're going to evoke God, it makes my job so much easier. If you're a Satanist, okay, fine. That's fine. I know what ground, but you're telling me she said I'm Jewish. I believe in the Old Testament. God's told me I'm like, well, okay, you got a big problem because, the God of the Old Testament is the same God of the New Testament, and he never condoned child sacrifice, and he would never tell you that. So in other words, you're not hearing from God. And then the one lady's like, okay, come on, let's we were having a civil dialogue till you shut up, meaning me. And I'm like, with other people that were there too, I guess. And so they were like, they didn't, yeah, she pulled her away, and she's like, no, come on, let's get away from here. And so they went way down there away from us. We just stood there with our signs, and I kind of fell back because I'm like, I feel like I was a bully, but I didn't physically threaten anybody. I didn't cuss at her. I didn't, none of them. And so, but they did their thing down there, and they're, and at that point it had gotten where the actual time allotted for the protest, where it said, we were way past that, and almost most people were gone. So we ended up taking the signs, because they had a whole bunch of extra signs. We took them back over across the road. We talked to the guy who put it together. He was very encouraged. And then then we went back home. So all in all, really good experience. Very encouraging. Really good energy. Yeah, there were some obviously Catholics there and stuff, and before we left, it was pretty funny. I told Greg and Daniel, I'm like, we need to pray, and I want to literally pray on their property. You know, claim this land for God. The Bible says the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and all they that dwell therein. This is God's plan. It's not Satan's. He doesn't own this. When he's in the lake of fire, for eternity, him and his fallen angels and all the demons and devils, they're not going to own anything, in the universe. So we, like, the pro-lifers, I think, had gotten there first, and they were able to claim that big sidewalk that ran around the whole front of the facade of Planned Parenthood, where I was kind of glad, because I didn't want the pro-death crowd, because that's what they are, the pro-death, to have that where they're actually claiming that. We actually all had pro-lifers, but so we knelt in prayer there, like on the little grassy swale that kind of went up to the Planned Parenthood parking lot, and we prayed for a while there. And I look over, I hear something. I look over, and there's some Catholic lady that comes over, sees us praying. Now she's thinking she's doing a good thing. She comes over, she's got holy water, and she's throwing it all over the grass next to us. I'm like, oh man. Oh boy, I hope that didn't hinder things too much, but anyway, I mean, I pray their souls be saved. I truly do. I praying a rosary, doing their holy water. I mean, unholy water. Sorry. And all that idolatrous icons and stuff they worship, and they had a picture of Sananda, Master Jesus, Emmanuel up there. That, you know. But really, the vast majority I would just view as non-Catholic Christian. That was the majority. So um, when I got home, I wanted to check to see if anything had kind of, and I'm sure more stuff's going to come out about this, but I'm looking at this report online, and it's um, thousands of pro-life activists descended upon Planned Parenthood clinics on Saturday to participate in a nationwide protest aimed at cutting off federal funding for the controversial health organization. Now, this is just a normal news report. This isn't a Christian news report. They're just reporting on it. The demonstrations unfolded at about 320 clinics around the nation. So, as far as I know, there's never been anything quite like this on this scale regarding Planned Parenthood ever. Which is really, I'm sure in God's eyes, that in and of itself, the last statement I just made, probably very grievous to God, because Planned Parenthood should have never ever been allowed to be legal. Ever. I mean, the whole murdering of babies should have never, Roe versus Wade or whatever, it should have never been allowed. Yeah, I wanted to just refresh my memory on Roe versus Wade. In 1973, it was actually decided January 22nd, 1973. Landmark decision by the United States Supreme Court on the issue of abortion, decided simultaneously with the companion case Doe versus Bolton. The court ruled 7-2 that a right to privacy under due process clause of the 14th Amendment extended a woman's decision to have an abortion. The thing is at that point, if the church had turned up in mass, which it obviously had the numbers, this could have been totally overturned right off the bat. But, again, the church had already yoked up with the state by then, well yoked up. Isn't it funny that after this 501c3 thing started happening in like the 50s, and then you start to see all these other things, dominoes start to fall, that would have never been tolerated, even 30, 40 years prior to that, ever. But when the church yoked up with the state with their 501c3 and through the IRS, the churches became corporations with the CEO being the pastor, board of directors being the deacons, then you start to see all these dominoes start to fall that would have probably never happened had that not. I think it was just a major linchpin for that. Took Paradise Schools, Roe versus Wade. I'm sure there's a lot of other things I'm leaving out. And so this is when this all started to happen. So there was 320 clinics around the nation where people turned up to protest. Now, I mostly went there. Really, I think the most important thing to do while you're on site was pray. And from a spiritual level, because if everybody's out there holding signs, and that's great, but nobody's praying while they're on site, it's not. To me, it's more the spiritual battle more than anything that I'm looking at. The protest kicked off at 9 a.m. most places Saturday and included speakers, prayer groups, chants, as well as signs distributed by organizers. Some of them said Planned Parenthood sells baby parts. There was a whole bunch of people, a ton of different signage. It was really, really cool. And then I got a whole bunch of actual Twitter pictures of protests throughout the country. Here's one from Minnesota, St. Paul. This one, final count, 1,600 people at pro-life in Aurora, Illinois. 1,600 people. Now, we had about 225, 235, I forget, he told us. But that was way more than he thought or what was indicated on the Facebook page. And, Asheville's not as big of a demographic as a lot of other places either. Then this lady said, David T. Welch said, a count was taken now at Fort Worth, I'm assuming Texas, Planned Parenthood, at least 520. Excellent. And then this gentleman, John B. Smith, said hundreds lining the street around Planned Parenthood in southeast Houston in today's protest. There's all Twitter pics to go along with these. I give you this stuff in the PDF for the teaching for August 23rd, 2015, if you want to check that out. And then this one, Plano, I'm assuming it's Plano, Texas. Knew a guy named Nick Plano once, and my friend always used to ask him, "Are you Nick Plano or just plain old Nick?" Get it? Sorry, anyway. So anyway, Plano, Texas, protest, 350 folks. Taylor's shaking her head at me. I always loved that joke. I thought it was funny. Anyway, so let's go further here. Then another one, over 600 Planned Parenthood, and that's where Coach Dave Dobmeyer was Columbus, Ohio. So over 600 there. Over 850 plus protesters at Falls Church, Virginia. I mean, these are good numbers comparatively. If you look at, I think numbers from the past or whatever, these numbers are significantly higher. Over 1,000 in Aurora, Illinois, and I'd already talked about them a little bit. That was like 1,600 in Aurora. I mean, they had a whole field there of people it looked like that were there. And some of it too is probably logistics, because like where we were at, I mean, you didn't know, like, okay, if I park here, am I going to get towed? Am I going to, you know what I mean? So some of it could be a logistical factor, about getting people there. And I had to park way up on this hill and then, come down. And I wasn't sure about where I parked either. So I was just happy when I got back to my vehicle that it was still there. It wasn't towed or I didn't have a ticket on it. So let's go further. Probably 600 or so protesting in Lincoln, Nebraska. Stretches about a quarter of a mile. Yeah, I can see that. We had, because we were on the sidewalk, so I mean, we looked down at one point, man, they were way down the one side, and they were on the other side of the road. It was a really good feeling to see that. So that's pretty much what happened yesterday. So that was good. It's I report on all this negative stuff, and it was good to see there. And then we're at an incredibly negative place, that we're incredibly negative things are going on, but it was a very positive experience overall to see the support there, and to see this growing groundswell, people waking up regarding this issue, knowing that this is probably the main reason, as far as of all the reasons God would judge America, this would have to probably be at the top of the list. So we're kind of at ground zero for what, why God would judge America, and the most nearest, dearest thing to Satan's cold black heart would be Planned Parenthood. That's his baby. That's his. No satanic pun intended, but that's his brainchild, essentially. And there's probably no place in America where what's going on warms Satan's cold black heart more than what's going on Planned Parenthood on a daily basis. So, and then I just before I get into my main part of my study, I had a listener ask me, and I've gotten this quite a few times, that's why I wanted to mention this kind of near the start. Listener question about getting unsubscribed from my newsletters. She says, I don't know how I became unsubscribed. Can you please reverse this so I may receive e-audios, newsletters, and health reports? Now, I can't, just so everyone knows, I can do that, but it's very hard for me to actually go in there and add a subscriber. See, it's all automated. So if you find yourself unsubscribed, usually you'll get, I think, an email that'll ask you to confirm it. Don't confirm it. Okay? But if all of a sudden you find you're just not getting them, number one, check your spam filters, if you've got any. And because it might be catching them. I think my newsletters, everything that I send out is being highly censored at this point. Make sure you do that. That would be the first thing I would say to do. Spam filters, check that. If you're still not getting them, resubscribe. Just go to the website, contendingfortruth.com. Right on the right upper side, you scroll down just a little, and you can resubscribe back to it. It'll add you back on, no problem. And so it's easier for you to do that than it's probably about 20 times easier at least for you to do that than for me to actually add you back on, because I actually have to go in there and go way into the program and copy and paste addresses and stuff like that. So it's all automated at this point, and I really don't have any control um, over that process. And that's why we did it, because I just, before, trying to add things on manually was just untenable. Couldn't do it. Uh, Now, but here's the main reason, okay, that people are getting unsubscribed. So you have to put in these newsletters, and the email service that I use, that goes by whatever internet guidelines are established. You have to give somebody an option to unsubscribe. Okay, now, the end at the bottom of every newsletter that is sent out, and again, this is all an automated thing. I'm not doing this manually, it's just automatically done, is an unsubscribe link. If you click on that by accident, and then I think you have to get a confirmation email, you'll be unsubscribed. Now, if you forward the email, you can have other people unsubscribing for you. And I think that's a big reason people end up not receiving the newsletter. So if you forward it to somebody, try to remember to remove the unsubscribe link. I know that's a hassle, but there's really no other option on my end. I have to have that when I send out the newsletters from a you know in order to prevent spam and all that other stuff. You've got, and if somebody doesn't want to receive it, the link's right there. But if you forward it to somebody and they don't like what they're seeing or whatever, and they unsubscribe thinking maybe they're getting the newsletter by chance, then you're going to be off the list, because that unsubscribe link is specific for your email address. So I wanted just to kind of let people know that. But it's easy to resubscribe. All you got to do is go to my website, on the right side there you can resubscribe. So another thing, just a few tips to save some money, because I know in today's day and age money's getting tighter and tighter, and just some things that I do, and these are just a few things popped into my head. I mentioned this before. I really believe in this gas additive that I've been using. It's called PRI-G. PRI-G. And I really 100% believe that this stuff works. And yes, it costs some money initially to buy it, but I do believe that in the long run, you will save way more money than it costs you to buy this stuff, as far as increased gas mileage. I use it every tank. And like, I buy the one, and this is the one I would recommend you buy. It comes in 3 different containers. Do not buy the gallon container of this stuff, because it doesn't have a little pre-measured thing that you squeeze the bottle on the lower sizes, and it like fills up to however much you want, whether you want a half, I don't know, like a 1 or 2 ounces or something. There's one that comes where it treats 512 gallons, and that's the one I buy. It's a 32 ounce. For convenience sake, that's the one I recommend. You can do the 16 ounce, which treats like 256 gallons. You can try that if you want to try it out in your car. But use it every tank. If you don't use it every tank, I find it's not as dramatic, and it tends to work almost better. And I got a vehicle recently, this SUV, that my other vehicle was really getting high mileage, and the Lord enabled me through some donations that came in and things like this for us to get a new vehicle. And it got real bad gas mileage when I first bought it. It was like not good. And I've been using this stuff, and I've been going, you can do a keyword search to find ethanol-free gas stations. Now, granted, the gas is somewhat higher, but you're going to get better gas mileage on that alone. This ethanol garbage is garbage. It's made from corn, and they're using half our croplands to make this corn that's either used for high fructose corn syrup or ethanol fuel, which is total garbage. We've got tons of gas we don't even tap into. And then they suppress all the free energy and all the alternative energies and kill the inventors off and stuff like that. So this is a really good product that if you use it on a consistent basis, you're going to get better. And especially if you're on the highway and stuff like that, even driving around town, you're going to see, I have seen a huge increase in gas mileage. You can just tell. I mean, it's significant. So I think it's just a really good way. They have it for diesel, gasoline, and then also for small engines. It says, well, improves fuel economy by 4 to 5%. I would say it's way more than that. Way more. I don't know whether they're saying that because they know if they put high numbers, they're going to get shut down. But I'm telling you, it's way more than 4 to 5%. Anyway, but yeah, try that. Try that. It's the website is priproducts.com, or I give you a link here on all the eBay people that are selling it. You can do the 16 ounce, which treats 256 gallons of gas for like $23 shipped with free shipping in the United States. And like I said, it will pay for itself. I can't even imagine not using this stuff now that I've been using it. And then another little thing you can do to save money. All the stuff with razors now, where you've got these. I was in the store the other day and my mind was blown. I looked over $40 for like the biggest whiz bang razor cartridges that there were. I mean, they need to have a security guard that just guards the razor section, essentially. Because, I mean, it's like Fort Knox when you look over. If you look at like if you like weighed the things out and then you calculated the price, it's like, you're getting up to like somewhere between gold and silver on the price scale range of these razor cartridges. It's so outrageous. I go through about 2 razor cartridges a year. Yeah. Okay, now granted, I supplement it with an electric shaver, but I will use the razor quite often. Here's what you do. I learned this a long time ago when I was a teenager. Remember how they used to have that catalog called Sharper Image? I don't know if you remember that. And maybe they still have it. I don't know. And it was all the cutting edge new gadgets. And I grew up with my parents, and they were whiz bang gadget, especially my dad kind of people. And we had some disposable income, so we got this magazine. And I remember I ordered this thing, and it was this little razor cup that you put your razor in with basically, I think, and it was some supposed oil they had with it. And it turned out you can use about any oil. You can use mineral oil. You can use baby oil. I'm not real wild about those because they're kind of more of a synthetic nature. But I've used olive. I've used grapeseed. About any oil will work. When you're done with the razor, after you've used it, you just shake it off. You put it in there. Some people say you got to dry it with a towel or a blow dryer. Nah, I've never done that. And the things last. You wouldn't believe how long a razor lasts if you just keep it in that oil between uses. The reason the razor's dull primarily is not because of the shaving process itself. It is more the oxidation that happens on the blades. Oxidation is essentially like rust that dull the blades between uses. Now, this is a gigantic racket. This is all about reoccurring revenue. This is all about getting you to buy. I mean, I hear, like, I listen to Sean, hey, I'm part of this whatever club. Get a new razor like every day or whatever. I'm like, what? New razor every day? Basically a fresh razor every day. I'm like, you're getting one use out of a razor. Are you kidding me? How incredibly inefficient and granted, that club he's talking about, yeah, it's a lot cheaper, than the regular razors you're going to buy in the store and just pay through the nose for. But I'm thinking, I go through like 2 razors a year. Literally, I'm not exaggerating, okay? And I've done this for years. And you're telling me you get one use out of it. Nothing like a fresh razor. And I'm not talking about razors where it's cut my face up either. I'm talking about I'm using them and they're good blades. Now, you know, I'm not saying everybody's going to be able to do what I do, but I'm telling you, you're going to be able to extend the life of a razor. And if you've got multiple people in a household using razors and you're just going to like a drugstore and buying them, this one little tip I'm telling you could save you, I don't even know how much per year. Between that and the gas tip I just gave you, you're going to save a ton. So that's something really easy. Now I don't know. I don't think like I still have the cup from Sharper Image for the razor, and it fits perfect. You're gonna have to kind of improvise on that one. A little glass cup would work, or even a little plastic thing. Um, really is rectangular cup that where you're not wasting a lot of oil. I keep it in that all the time, and man, those blades, you wouldn't believe how long they last for when you keep that oil on them. Okay, and then the last thing is if you are using essential oils, okay, like in home use. I hadn't really looked at this in a while, and when I went back and started researching about essential oil diffusers, I noticed that what's taken over these ultrasonic diffusers, and I didn't really know a lot about them, but what it is it's like an essential oil diffuser, but you fill the reservoir with water, and then you put in, like, let's say 10 to 15 to 20 drops of a particular oil. I use multiple different oils in there, and it's way more efficient than using a flat essential oil diffuser. Essential oil diffuser is just the oil, and man, can that get expensive. I'm talking you could go through, a $50 essential oil in a not long period of time, like in a day easily. And, with a regular essential oil diffuser that's non-diluted. These new ones, I really think it gets it into the air. It's more efficient. It uses the water vapor to, I think, attach onto it. So you're getting that, and a little bit goes a lot longer than you would if you're going to diffuse it straight out. So if you do use essential oils, or you're thinking about it, go the essential oil diffuser route. Amanda's Apothecary probably has, I really believe, some of the best essential oils. They're a little new age. I'm sorry about that. Pray over the oils when you get them. Most of all these places are when it comes to essential oils. I think that now Now Foods has really good organic essential oils, but they don't have a huge selection of the organics. I use the organic peppermint a lot just because I have it with me all the time. It's a cooling oil. It's just an awesome oil. I carry it with me everywhere. I have for years. And they've got a really good lavender, which is like the Swiss Army knife of all oils. They've got a good peppermint. They've got a good organic lemon that it's pretty hard to beat their prices. Amanda's Apothecary has a lot of really good oils, and they've got some excellent prices. Plus, they've got diffusers. You can find them online. Amanda's Apothecary. They've got some really. I bought one of their ultrasonic diffusers, and it's just one of the best investments. It was like they're like 50 for their good one. It's like 50 something bucks, and it's like hopefully last indefinitely. And you're gonna save so much money because if you're buying the diffuser itself, you're just not gonna you're gonna blow through so much money on that thing. And in the days and times we have coming, if there is a pandemic, okay, and this is where the rubber meets the road on this. It's one thing to have aromatherapy, and all of the benefits of essential oils are amazing, the different ones. But if you got into a pandemic scenario, okay, and let's say you had your mild silver protein for the pandemic, and you have your all of this, the suits that you can have to protect yourself if you had to go out in the public, and all of those things. having a diffuser, and particularly if you had a room where, let's say, people were coming in and out of, what it would do is be a very highly preventative thing for passing any type of pandemic on, airborne wise. Because if you have certain essential oils running through the diffuser, they're going to be antimicrobial, they're going to be antiviral. You're going to be killing these things in the air. An ozonator is very good for that as well. Okay? But an ultrasonic diffuser, if you were going to have this thing running all the time, is the way to go, because you can literally run like for 12 hours straight with a little bit of essential oil, and you're getting by far the most bang for your buck that way. And I do advise, having these, for even a pandemic scenario, and the ozonators as well, to have different things to fall back on. And it's really good for your moods and for brain clarity and all that stuff. There's tons of benefits there. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Now I'm already through the my first part of the teaching, so I'm going to go ahead and end part 1 here, and we will get into the main part of our teaching next. So God bless you, and we will see you in part 2.
Scott Johnson's 1,000 plus audio teachings and PDF documents are available for free 24/7 on the internet at contendingfortruth.com. That's CONTENDINGFORTRUTH.com. In addition, we also offer a free Christian current event and health email newsletter. You can sign up at contendingfortruth.com. These email newsletters typically only generate about 3 to 6 emails per month if you subscribe to both lists. Please prayerfully help us to continue this work. For mail correspondence or to support this ministry, our mailing address is Scott Johnson, 2359 Highway 70 Southeast, number 321, Hickory, NC 28602. Or on the internet, a PayPal donation link can be found at contendingfortruth.com. Thank you, and may the Lord Jesus Christ richly bless you.